here in the SLED team. I'm joined by my teammates Craig Hogan, Doug Fernay, and Gavin Ramsey. They'll introduce themselves further as the presentation progresses. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide. Uh, a little bit about our agenda today. We're going to talk a little bit about why contact center, why is it a hot topic today, um, how we can use it to improve the student experience, as well as the agent experience, rep experience. We're going to see a couple demonstrations in the forms of videos today, voice, chatbot, and an example of outbound dialing. Then we're going to take a look deeper into the agent experience and the underlying technologies before wrapping up with management and reporting. Without further ado here, I'm going to go ahead and pass this along to my teammate Gavin Ramsey. I think
Gavin, you're on mute.
you're mute.
Let's try that again. There we are. Hi, all. My name's Gavin Ramsey. I'm part of our Microsoft Global Black Belt team and have the benefit of working with organizations across the U.S. on contact center modernization initiatives. So we're really excited to talk to you today and provide some visuals on our major investment in contact center, which is known as Dynamics 365 Contact Center. So we thought it might be helpful just to give you a little bit of an understanding of how the solution came together and really what we're enabling for our customers. So the first piece here, which is really key, is when we looked across the landscape of contact center today, there is typically a number of different vendors being required to bring those vendors together, required to create modern contact center experiences. What does that mean? Well, we need self-service, we need assisted service. We, of course, want to have some personalization, and also we need some automation in there to really improve and scale contact center operations. The problem was there was really no one company that spanned all of those key pillars, the contact center as a service, the contact center AI components, as well as customer engagement center, a la CRM. So our focus was really unifying these solutions. We're going to talk more about that here as we progress. So I'm going to take us to the next slide. And there we go. So just a little bit of background on the Microsoft ecosystem. So when we looked across the Microsoft technology estate that exists today, this is a very simplified version of that. We noticed that we had a lot of existing assets widely in use for service across EDU, academic medical centers, and just about every other industry on earth, and realized that there was a real opportunity to bring these solutions together. And why was this a focus? Well, because today, running a successful contact center isn't really about any one technology. It's not just about having a great calling platform or a great chatbot. We have to have all that. But also, that has to be really intermeshed with great internal collaboration capabilities. We have to have extensibility. We have to have security. We have to have AI. So at Microsoft, we really looked at bringing together all of those elements, starting with our productivity assets, Teams Phone, things like Microsoft 365 Copilot, of course, all of our core email capabilities, bringing that in then with some of our SaaS applications around things like Dynamics 365 customer service, Power Platform for connectivity, low-code extensibility, market-leading analytics, and all of this sitting on the largest, most compliant data center footprint on Earth, which is run by Microsoft Azure. Also, Azure brings in unified security, unified compliance, and unified AI engines to feed the entirety of that stack. So what that allows us to do is unify that at great conversational understanding and intelligence. And really, that was the birth of Dynamics 365 Contact Center, which is now widely in use across many sectors around the world. Great. I'm going to take us to the next slide here. Let's see here. Great. So what is the value prop for what we're going to give you some great visuals on today? So I think there's really 5 things we'd want to have you focus on today as you think about great personalized engagement. The first, as we talked about, is a single unified platform. Let me turn on all those different engagement channels, whether it be voice, email, SMS, web chat, all of the different components, even social, that I need today for interaction, but on one unified platform. Right. Also, let me have one platform for voice, right? So a single voice platform spanning all levels of users. Bring in really intelligent market-leading AI. Microsoft, current leader in one of the leaders, I should say, in the AI space, but really it's through our close alignment with OpenAI and massive investment there where we can bring the latest models to market almost in real time and allow you to feed experiences both on those that are receiving the service as well as those that are delivering the service. All of this really nets out to faster to implement, more mature when using AI functions and core capabilities, and easier to manage as a single platform ongoing. So let me be in the business of innovation and opening up new capabilities, right, for student engagement versus simply trying to keep the lights on with an existing voice infrastructure. And then I think the other two pieces that I would really focus on here is composability and extensibility. So the ability to use different components of the solution, which we'll talk about, depending on your particular needs for contact center versus a one size fits all, and all of that, having all of that inherent security and capabilities that we talked about. So I think I'll go to the next slide here, as we look at not just Microsoft's view of this approach, we also look at what the analysts think of this, and it's by all means been a resounding success. It's actually the most successful product launch in Microsoft's history, which is saying a lot because we have about 40 years of history. So really the adoption rate and this kind of new opportunity for folks to rethink service in an AI agentic space is really coming true to our initial investment vision. And so for us, it's really about the pace of innovation. We're hearing that our ability to fold in intelligent automation and agent productivity have really been a differentiator here. Also, we purchased some of this intelligence and maturity. We spent, I think, around $16 billion to buy Nuance Technologies as an industry leader in natural language, and so brought in that conversational intelligence into the platform. And then also the ability then to have the everything that you need to staff and run your contact centers from a reporting and a management capability, all in one unified space as another big differentiator. Add in price flexibility and transparency and AI infusion, and it's really been a great launch over these last year and a half. Great. Well, I've talked a lot about the positioning of contact center and kind of how it's come to market. It might be a little more fun to actually show you what it looks like in use. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Stan now, and he's going to walk you through some scenarios. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you for that. So as we can see here, contact center can support a multitude of channels, but we're going to take two examples here. I'm going to hand it over to Craig here in a moment. He's going to show you a voice example, and then after that, I'm going to show you a chat example. Just kind of to this slide, right? We excel at self-service so people can get the information they need when they want to get it. And then ultimately, we'll see how we can transfer to an agent. A little bit out of the scope of today's call is to dig into too much into the routing, but just know that we have robust routing capabilities so that when we do have to transfer to an agent, we'll get the best available agent at that moment. So now I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Craig and let him take us to our first example.
Thanks, Dan. Good afternoon. I'm Craig Hogan. I am a solution specialist, so I focus on our Dynamics platform, Power Platform, and I am proud to be here today to walk through Mike Hartley's adventure. Mike is a student, and so what we're going to show is him calling in about some academic probation. I think it's questionable if Mike was really in any type of academic probation, but you'll play along. There's some issues around registering for class. We've got a scenario where we're going to find out he has an outstanding bill, and we're going to go ahead and get that paid. So let's now kind of play the video. So first off, I'd just like to say there's no way somebody that intent and focused on asking the agent a question could have any type of academic probation. It's merely for acting purposes. But just to kind of recap, so you saw the opening conversation. That's all definable by you as the user, so you can build whatever that conversation, that initial intent is. You build out the topic, so you curate the path, the conversation path you want to lead a user down based on what they're asking. When we talked about tuition bills, payment options. So if we're trying to make it easier to find information, now that we've done that, what's the second question, the third question? What's that business process we want to initiate to continue that user experience? So in this case, we're making a payment and we're able to now get registered all in the same experience. I'm not having to have a user go somewhere else and log into a different system. And then this last piece, so this is now the screenshot from within Contact Center. So what this is now showing us is the actual recording of the call. It's got real-time sentiment analysis, so it's assessing what the user feedback and their sentiment is. I do have full search capability of the transcript, and I now have a summary of the conversation. So Gavin mentioned AI and how we've infused Copilot and AI throughout our platform. This is an example where I can get the summary of that conversation I've had now with this agent that can be attached to my record, or in this case, Mike's record, our record, and have that trackable. So going forward, I'd be able to see when other calls were happened, what other instances were addressed. And I think that's all for me and Mike.
Yep. Thanks for that, Craig. I'm going to take over here now, team, and talk a little bit about a chat experience. So let me go ahead and click on this one. So this example here is student Debbie Wallace, and she's going to go onto the student portal and she's going to ask a few questions like, how do I apply for housing? How can I verify I'm enrolled? And she's even going to remember that she has to sign up for a parking space for this coming semester. And then ultimately, when she says she wants to speak to an advisor, it's going to prompt her to chat with a live student services rep. And then that rep is going to go ahead and open up a case for her on her behalf. So let me go ahead and run this video. Okay. Thanks for that bit of a lengthier video, but thanks for sitting through that. So a lot of things we saw happening there. First of all, mostly the agent experience on the portal. I built that using Dynamics and Power Pages, but you can have your own existing portal. We can embed the chat agent onto any existing um, portal or web experience that you might have. Um, Notice how we actually initiated process two. When she said she needed a parking space, we were able to, at that moment, go look up her information, understand the vehicle she had registers against her profile, even last year or last semester where she had parked, suggesting, do you want the same? Right. And then she said, yes, I want to do that. And then when she said she wanted to speak with an academic advisor, we of course prompted to say, well, maybe you want to speak to a live rep, at which point we did so. You might have noticed too, it was called out in the video that AI is understanding the actual conversation chat that's happening and it's suggesting content so the rep didn't have to go look for the answer to that. He shared it and then went ahead and opened a case and connected that conversation record in there. And then the screen, just like we saw with Craig's example, the entire chat conversation is stored here. And then it transcribes it and does a summary of it. So again, nothing's lost here. If they call back and another rep has to pick up on this with Debbie, everything's stored right directly in the database, easily accessible right from her profile. So just a little bit about the experience as a whole, right? Depending upon what CRM you bring to the table, of course, what we're seeing at here is Dynamics, but we can configure this experience so that the agent has all the information available at their fingertips. SIS data, LMS data, ERP data, whatever data that we have, we can bring it into the experience here to make it easily accessible for, in this case, the student services rep to get that information, have it visible, and be efficient in helping out the student. We also see in a timeline here, we have AI highlights that are telling you most recent activity is happening with, in this case, Mike Hartley. So all that is entirely possible with our software. In addition, you can go ahead and start Teams chats, ask AI additional questions, things of that nature. And when we configure our CRM systems to do all this, right, it gives us at our fingertips easy access to any schools we have, any departments within those schools, students, employees, alumni that we want to connect to. We can ask questions with the Copilot. As I said, we can start Teams chats if we need to work with others in the support center, right? We have that access to the conversation records. We can create emails, appointments, tasks, all the things that we do in Office. And last but not least, we can, of course, maintain and create cases. With that, I'm going to go ahead and pass this along to our teammate Doug, who's going to take us a deep dive into Copilot Studio a little bit more.
Yep. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much, Stan. So my background is actually contact centers at Microsoft. I've been doing contact centers for roughly 2 decades. And so I wanted to spend a couple of minutes talking about some of the aspects that you've seen so far and even show you another concept around what we call proactive engagement, which is outbound dial, what the industry calls outbound dial. But before I get to that, I want to just spend a few minutes and talk about Copilot Studio. So several times during this presentation, you've seen this concept of Copilot in use in our examples. The first one, which was IVR. And so when you have an interaction on the voice channel with IVR, we handle that through a Copilot Studio Intelligent Agent. Okay, and I'll get into the details of all of this in a little bit in a minute, but that underlying technology is Copilot Studio. When you saw the incoming chat virtual agent, that was also configured using Copilot Studio. And then the customer service representative side, the ability for a representative to use Copilot within the service workspace to make them more efficient, that was also configured using Copilot Studio. Okay, so what is Copilot Studio? It is Microsoft's low-code agent builder is the best way to kind of describe it. It allows you to drag and drop to build these Copilot intelligent agents. Okay. Once you've built these, you can surface them on a number of different channels. So for example, and I just mentioned this, you can put it on an IVR, right? You can put it on a voice channel. You can put it on an SMS channel. You can put it on chat. Okay. So it's a way for external or even internal service, service reps to be able to interact with that natural language as opposed to forms over data. Okay. And the interaction with that is basically conversational orchestration, right? So what I mean by that is how you interact with an Alexa or a Bixby or a Siri, right? We're interacting with these intelligent agents just using natural language, right? So Stan, go ahead and go to the next slide for me. And so why is that important inside of a contact center or engagement center? The reason why this is important is because we often make changes to those intelligent agents on a frequent basis. And the reason we change that is because uh, our business processes change, rules change, how the universities want to do certain things changes. So contact centers are frequently changing the underlying processes and the underlying knowledge that they need to surface to their constituents, whether those are students or alumni or faculty or whatever it might be. So we really don't want to rely on IT or pro dev cycles to be able to update our intelligent agents. We need to be able to be flexible. And so Copilot Studio was built with the intent of allowing it with the proper admin and security to be able to configure and update those agents as often as necessary. Okay, so Stan, go to the next slide for me. And so Copilots, and you've kind of seen this as we've gone through the demo, Copilot Studio agents really have two main sides to them, right? They have the knowledge side to where you can ask for knowledge inquiries. We saw this in the IVR where we were looking up a policy of some sort, but they also have transaction sides as well. So I can complete transactions within these intelligent agents. Well, how do I do both of those knowledge inquiries and the transactional inquiries across the wide, number of different systems that I might have within my organization? Well, we use data connectors for that. So data connectors, we have over 1,500 plus connectors currently published. We can also do custom connectors, but it allows us to get at those back-end systems, whether they're knowledge or transactions, to be able to support those frontline agents, again, either to external parties or our internal customer service. But those connectors make it very easy for us to do, again, both that knowledge and the transactions within that natural language intelligent agent interface. Okay. Stan, next. So, and you can go ahead one more slide. So the demo that I wanted to kind of walk through, everything we've seen so far has been internally or inbound, right? We call an IVR or we initiate a chat. But what about outbound? Okay, so we call this proactive engagement, and this is basically allowing support organizations to be able to do proactive engagements, again, either to students or faculty or alumni or whoever. And in the demo we're going to show a outbound dial to a student using and the interaction is going to be initiated in a Copilot Studio intelligent agent. Okay, and this is a pretty typical. Yeah, Stan, don't kick it off just yet. Pretty typical. Outbound. We're going to do a feedback or a survey, right? But that's just one of the use cases, right? That's just an example. Anything that we could do inbound, we can also do outbound. Okay, and then in my example, we talk about kind of using Power Automate as a workflow to take some sort of action on the data that's entered by the student. Okay, so Stan, go ahead and run the demo. So Stan, leave it right there for just a second.
Oh.
So the other thing,
Oh.
just that's fine. Go ahead and go to the next slide. The other thing that I wanted to kind of talk through right before I get to the proactive side was in the demo, what you saw was Copilot Studio, the actual UI of that, where you can see kind of the question and answering conditions that was configured for that particular outbound dial. So again, it's designed for service users to be able to configure their own agents. Okay, very user friendly and very easy to do. Okay, now just a little bit more about proactive engagement. I talked about kind of outbound dial. So again, outbound dial is the industry term for kind of proactively reaching out to your customers. And what you saw in that demo was the Copilot dial. So we made the outbound dial. Copilot initiated that conversation. All the back and forth was with Copilot Studio. Okay, and so you can kind of see some of the sample use cases here. These aren't necessarily education specific, but payment reminders, or think of alumni reminders around. In fact, my wife's 40th year is this year, and her university, sent us a postal piece, right? A snail mail piece. Well, what if they'd sent us an outbound dial to invite us to the dinner that we're going to, right? So there's lots of potential outbound dial or Copilot dial scenarios. Okay, the other two are really representative led, where the first one was Copilot Studio led, the other one's representative led. And we have two versions there. We have preview dial and progressive dial. Preview dial is when the contact information is sent to a service rep and you see that pop, that notification. They accept that pop. They get to see the contact information, and then the dialer calls out to the individual. Okay, that's preview. Progressive dial is basically when it waits for a rep to become available, and then it dials a call for each service rep. Okay. Now, not on this slide is actually the last of those different versions, which is predictive dialing, which is actually coming a little bit later this year, early next year. And predictive dialing is where you have large numbers of calls. If you're making tens of thousands of calls, there's AI into that predictive model to determine how many agents you need to take those incoming calls. Okay. Now, before we leave this slide, one other thing happens a lot is most of the time, most people don't answer their cell phone, right? We kind of know this. Everybody gets what they perceive as spam calls. We get all those all day long. And so one of the things that customers use Copilot Dial for is you make that call, you get somebody to answer, you get basically them to, say, yes, I'm ready to talk to a human, and then Copilot can transfer that to an agent, right? So there's variations of these different methods but they're all designed to save time for the service organization and be able to do a lot of automation around some pretty routine tasks, all in a configurable experience. Okay, Stan, next. Okay, I think it's back to you.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Doug. Thanks for that. I'm just going to bring it back to the totality of the solution, right? The contact center solution. So what we saw here in this slide on the left is the unified solution for Microsoft, the whole stack. It's all our product. We can do this for you. We have one single vendor that can supply everything. Think back to what Gavin showed us at the very beginning, right? That's possible. Middle column here, right? If you want to bring your own different CRM to the table, such as Salesforce, right? We can surround that. It's not a rip and replace. We can surround that and do those things as well. So kind of think about that as where, hey, I have this existing investment. I'd like to surround that. And then of course, in our third pillar here to the right, you could just be deployed as a standalone experience as well. And on this one, I'm not going to read each of these things. We saw this at length here, what we talked about, but the transcriptions, the ability to do omni-channel, the ability to have the agent help both the self-service portion of it and the agent or rep experience as well. And then of course we have the chat, the IVR, and so forth. So very comprehensive set of capabilities. And then this slide we saw in action. So, but we have, we have the the panel with the conversation that's taking place. We have the automatic summary. We have the real-time sentiment analysis, right? We have in the history the ability to see all that and review that in case at a later date another rep has to pick it up. And then, of course, we have the green button to accept it. So when an agent is available, again, we're not getting into it today. We would love to have those conversations one-on-one, but we have a robust routing mechanism to say who's the best available agent at this moment to work with the student in this case. So let me go ahead and click through here, and I'm going to pass it back to Doug here. He's going to take us through a little bit about management and reporting. Back to you, Doug.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. And I was trying to answer some of the questions in the chat as well. And I think we're going to have definitely Q&A time. So we'll kind of go over some of those questions. So Stan kind of mentioned this early on when he was going over the full platform. There was an operations section, right? So operations is kind of this bucket terminology that we include analytics and insights. So one of the benefits of Contact Center is it's on a single platform. So all of the telemetry, all of the details, all the reporting is all in one data repository that we call Dataverse. And we provide you out-of-the-box capabilities to do the insights and analytics necessary to run your contact center. So there's just a couple of screenshots on this. There are a comprehensive list of dashboards that we include, both real-time and historic, and you're able to slice and dice those against basically the attributes of the interaction. So you can slice them by channel, you can slice them by agent, you can slice them by intent, you can slice them by time factor. And so you get all those kind of dashboards out of the box. Along with that, you get really topic discovery, right? So if you're running a service organization, one of the things that you want to basically monitor on a routine basis is my self-service channel, or are my service reps equipped to answer the questions that are incoming, right? And so topic discovery is a way that we use AI to basically categorize all of the incoming interactions into a topic. And then we show through dashboards how those topics are being answered. Are they being answered in the self-service channels? Are they being answered by the service reps? Are they having to be escalated to a second tier of service, possibly. And so those metrics allow the supervisors to be able to make adjustments either to the self-serve knowledge base or training for the service reps or even Copilot to make sure that they can answer more of those inquiries in a faster time frame. Okay. Now, another huge aspect of topic discovery is fast changing events, right? So think about, COVID is obviously the one we talk about all the time, but think about some event that came out of nowhere that drove a lot of traffic to your service channels. How are you quickly adapting to those? So topic discovery lets you address those. Okay, now at a much deeper level, you can also do call intelligence. So all the interactions can be stored and recorded, and you have control over that. But if you decide to record those incoming calls or those incoming chats, we do deep level call intelligence on those call recordings. So you can look at things like sentiment, at word clouds, at word usage, at empathy, all the kind of softer skills that you want to track to be able to help your customer service agents kind of, improve, right? If there is an issue there, and you can see that all of that in that call intelligence. Okay. Last but not least, and somebody asked about this in the chat, is do you have kind of ongoing monitoring? And yes, we have ongoing dashboard that allows supervisors to see all of the current calls or chat transcripts. And they can also see real-time sentiment of those as well. And they can monitor and or barge into those interactions as necessary. Now, in the voice channel, if a supervisor is monitoring that call, they can listen to it, but they can also chat with that service rep in the background. And so they're not trying to talk to the rep kind of one way. It's much easier if they just kind of chat with the rep, and they could do something like chat with the rep and say, "Hey, I see this is a challenging call. Are you okay? Do you need me to barge in here?" And the rep can say, "Yeah, I need your help," or "No, I got this," right? And so all that is part of that kind of monitoring, whispering, and the barging capability inside of that ongoing conversation dashboard. Stan, next slide. Okay. And again, I think I talked about this, but basically, because we have all these channels, we're also able to give you insights on a per channel performance, right? So not only can you see all the telemetry, but you can, again, kind of slice and dice it by channel and make all the necessary changes that you need to for an individual channel. Okay. Stan, back to you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're going to pass it back to Gavin to give us a wrap on just product overall and so what? Why is it important and what business value do we receive out of it? So I'm going to pass it back to you, Gavin.
That's great. Thanks, Stan. Yeah, so just to kind of bring us back around to what is the impact of enabling new modern contact center technologies like what we're talking about today? And it's kind of interesting because we have a couple different points of view on this. We have a lot of customers that are currently using the contact center solution that you saw today across a number of different industries at scale, some with, customer service representatives counting in the thousands, right, that are on the platform. Others, a little smaller, right, 10, 15 folks, what have you. But we've also leveraged it within Microsoft. So we have one of the largest support organizations on earth. And we also activated the contact center capabilities, the AI capabilities across 40,000 plus agents internally, just to kind of learn and understand exactly where those benefits were. And I think one of the things that we've discovered since we launched this product is that it's a very nice balance of where you're going to see return on investment. And what I mean by that is, sure, we want the basics of what we think about from a contact center. We want to reduce that handling time. We want to make sure that first-time resolution is so much easier because we have real-time access to knowledge now, and it's helping us to get in and see histories of past interactions, and all of that equals, hey, I can answer these questions correctly the first time and get the student back on their way. But we've also saw a significant increase in channel shift. The ability to take all of those repetitive questions that you're getting every day that kind of clog up your phone lines and actually now turn those into voice bots and chat bots in a very consolidated way within Copilot Studio, right? So it's much easier to create those. So it's faster shift to self-service channels, which, we have a lot of folks today that really don't want to wait on hold. They just want to come in the channel of their choice, get their answers, and then move on. So huge numbers, benefit numbers there. But also there's some HR components that I think are really key here. Just the speed to onboarding agents, so assisted service agents onto the platform. So if you have students that might be manning your contact centers, this is great because it's very intuitive. And very easy to bring them up to speed and to start using the platform. Or if you're an academic medical center with a lot of complexity and policies, et cetera, very easy to get folks also onboarded there because the AI is doing a lot of that interpretation work and or simplification. So everything we need in one space. But the other thing that we saw that was really interesting is just the speed to deployment and the reduced TCO for managing all of the complexity that comes with a omni-channel contact center. All right, it's one thing if I'm just doing calls. When I start to add chat and email and all these other and social on top of that same platform, today that's sometimes multi-vendor. If I'm doing AI, that could be another. Just having that in one place, we've really seen the TCO there be a really nice surprise as far as simplicity. So I'll take us to the next slide here, but if we look at the kind of netting it out of what we talked about today, I think the key, if we were to leave you with anything, is helping you to focus on innovation in the contact center and how you engage and manage the relationships with your students, your patients, your residents. I think the other thing is that whereas we've unified the platform, it's modular enough that it's built to work with third-party systems also. So you can deploy just the pieces that you need to meet the needs of your contact center, just the channels or experiences. But also we have a lot of existing systems, case management and whatnot, making it easier to actually integrate and pull those directly in. And then lastly, when we're ready to use AI, some of us are ready right away. Some of us, want to hold off and kind of crawl, walk, run into it. That's fine. But as you do so, you can know that you're doing that using a single AI, responsible AI channel from Microsoft. That's the same AI solution that you might be using across our other products like Microsoft 365 Chat, Teams, Voice, etc. So you have that one central AI, very mature AI component. You can manage centrally and light up those experiences when you're ready. So it's, I think, a really great story, and one that we'd be more excited to get in and talk to you about your current scenario, situation, circumstance, and actually help kind of bend some of this around, your current call flows, your current interactions that you're trying to drive, and really kind of bring this to life for you as an outcome. So great. Stan, I think we'll go ahead then and open up for questions here for Q&A. And if there's anyone that would, if there's any in the chat here that I would like to address. Mm-hmm.